Hello, and welcome to the Power of Authority podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Prince. Each week, you'll hear tips, stories, and inspiration from people who are leveraging the power of authority in their business, leadership, and life. It's time to get your story out of your head and onto paper so that you can grow your business, make a difference, and build your authority. After all, you can't spell authority without author. So let's get started. Hey guys, it's Michelle Prince with the Power of Authority podcast, and I am so excited about my guest today. He is my friend. He is successful in so many different ways, and we're going to have a great show. But let me tell you a little bit about my friend Kevin Miller. With a lifetime devoted to personal development, self-employment, and elite athletics, Kevin's primary language and know-how is personal growth. As a son of best-selling author and business leader Dan Miller, he started his first business at age 15, became a professional cyclist at 20, and to date has started over only 15 businesses, only. Kevin recognizes every platform from business to sports as an opportunity to influence people's lives for the better. As an advocate of self-employment, Kevin founded Free Agent Academy, a membership community that provided guidance to over 1,000 people desiring to pursue employment and personal growth. In 2012, Kevin began speaking for the Ziglar Corporation on self-employment, and shortly after Zig Ziglar passed away, Kevin joined Ziglar as a consultant to help steer the brand into a new era. Becoming host of The Ziglar Show became Kevin's primary role, and as of October 2019, he has had 150 of the world's top influencers on the show and realized over 40 million downloads. That's huge. Today, along with being a podcast host, Kevin is heavily invested in the health and wellness industry and co-founded a functional medicine clinic in Colorado. And from this effort to address the rise in chronic illness and disease crippling our culture, has launched a second podcast called The True Life Show. So I want to dive in right away. There's so much more about your bio, Kevin, that I could read, but I know you and I've had an opportunity to get to know you over the years. So welcome.
Thank you. I love seeing your show and your focus here. And yeah, this feels like we do this a lot.
Yeah.
And, it's great to do it on your show, though.
Well, and I have to give props to you because really everything I know about podcasting, I have learned from you. And I know I've said that before, but that is the truth because, you hosting the Ziglar Show podcast for how many years now?
I think it's close to 5.
5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And the show has just taken off. It is so successful, 40 million downloads, obviously. But I've seen you behind the scenes and how you do it and how you ask questions. And I've had the honor and privilege of co-hosting with you a few times. And I am just so impressed by everything that you do. So thank you for teaching me as I grow my podcast. And
my honor. Goodness. Glad to offer anything. I think I came into this thing. I felt like a hack for most of the time, but become more of a student of podcasting in recent years. And yeah, it's an amazing platform.
I know. I love it. I've only done a couple shows, but I love it so far. So you and I share a similar passion, many of them, but the two that come to mind are personal development and Zig Ziglar. Obviously, we both have a love and admiration and a dedication to keeping the Ziglar brand and the Ziglar name alive. But how did you, I know you met, got invited with the Ziglars after Zig passed away, but how did you get involved with Ziglar? Was it something that because of your dad, you just grew up hearing his talks or reading his books?
Well, my gosh, as far as Zig, for sure, he feels like a primary mentor who I didn't meet till, not too many years ago.
Yeah.
And my dad grew up in a very isolated home life. His parents were born Amish, actually. And
wow.
And so they were very, very isolated. And when he got to, school and education and he went to college against his parents' wishes, wow. And then kind of got exposed to this personal development thing and people like, Carnegie and Ziglar just opened up a whole new world with them along with pursuing psychology in school. And so I grew up hearing Brian Tracy and Zig Ziglar and going to classes and seminars, auditing them with my dad. I was an only child for a long period, and I would get to go that. So the Ziglar voice was just common, and he cites that like so many people do, especially not only in awakening him to his possibility, but really bringing him through some tough times and helping him get out of that. So I grew up on it, and that led to when you talked about in my bio, when I had an organization that helped people pursue self-employment, I got the opportunity then through Tom Ziglar actually to go down there. That's when I finally did meet Zig. And I know you had a lot of time with Zig. I had one I guess it was two great days with him. Probably a year and a half before he passed away.
Okay.
And then it was after that talking with Tom and about what's going to happen with the brand now that the primary, icon was gone, and that we really looked at what else happened with Ziglar. I saw the show, and I had been podcasting on a small level, and the show was getting a decent amount of downloads, even though nothing had been posted for a year and a half. And so we picked it back up, and it's such a privilege, as you know, to help continue that legacy. Nobody will ever replace Zig, but I do my best to bring the business focus and the family and the faith and the personal side of it in. And I love it. There's nothing that I care about talking about more.
I know. And what I love about your story is we share similar backgrounds with our parents. I was exposed to Zig because of my parents too. My mom got really involved and started reading, and my dad, and going to the seminars. And so when I was really young, they started playing the tapes, and and then I know the story of them forcing me to go to the Zig Ziglar conference when I was 18 years old. But it was so life-changing for me. And, thank God for your dad, and thank God for my parents for exposing us to Zig at such early ages. It's certainly made a...
and I love hearing the stories. I interviewed Rick McDaniel. He's an author yesterday, a great book. And he talked about his son I don't know if he gave the age, but he took his son to a Ziglar conference. His son heard about setting goals. He set a goal to be a Division I football player, and that's what he became. And it's just those kind of stories, and it was really motivating to continue exposing my kids to such things. I think most people don't get that opportunity. So God bless our parents.
Yes, exactly. So you've had an opportunity to interview a lot of influencers. The best of the best in this industry. So not to put you on the spot, and I know you don't have a favorite per se, but can you think of one interview or one guest that just stood out more than anyone else? One that you really cherish that interview more than the rest?
There are. Everybody has a great message, and I enjoy, and I think I get a lot of kudos for the interviews, but I'm talking to people who are in my lane. These are topics that I've devoted my life to. I've never had one where I thought I wouldn't have done the interview if I didn't already know they had good information. Most of the people are authors. They have a book, and I've been able to vet the message, and that's why I brought them onto the show. But there's definitely ones that I do that stick with me. They resonate with me, something that I needed to hear. They're all confirming to things that I believe in, want to pursue, but ones that hit me. I'll tell you somebody I'm trying to, I would bet there may not be anybody I've talked about continually on the show more than Shaunti Feldhahn.
Oh, wow.
In her book, The 30-Day Kindness Challenge.
Yes.
The concept, and some of it's because she gave me this concept on kindness, the aspect of being kind. anybody hears that, of course, it's good to be kind. It's the right thing to do, and it will help relationships better. But I usually think of that in a reciprocal aspect. You're kind to others, it helps a relationship, they're kind back. And just her, from a researcher standpoint, where I really appreciate that. And I am not a researcher. I love interviewing the researchers who are just messengers saying, look, this is what we found. And she said, regardless of what it does for the health of the actual relationship, the psychological benefit to you of being kind is the biggest benefit. I love that because, awesome. and that, I guess she started an interest or an awakening in me of that thread of brain training, which is a big focal point of mine. That's what my wife does as a profession, is cognitive training. And it wasn't long after that a guy who, Joshua Spodek, he's a professor at NYU, I think, an astrophysicist. And he talked about a concept called sidcha, let me see if I can get it. Self-imposed, daily, challenging, healthy activities. And it was kind of going on the things that you don't have to do. You don't have to get up and do devotions in the morning. You don't have to work out. You don't have to do all these good habits. And if you don't, there's not some bad acute consequence.
Right.
Doing them, however, and I looked at them and doing them, exercising is good because it makes me healthier. But he, in the same frame of reference that Shanti talked about, he said the biggest benefit is what it does in the programming of your brain to do those things you don't have to do. The strength and the fortitude. And so those are two people that aren't the biggest names out there. When I've interviewed people like Dave Ramsey and Seth Godin, and I'm about to have Marie Forleo on the show, and these big names that have great stuff. But some of these folks who did the research and came out with things stand out. Those are two people that I have referred to over and over and over and over again, and probably need to have on the show again.
Well, it's funny because I know a couple of times when you and I co-hosted the show, and we always just did the Q&A show, so it was very, we just talked basically. Yeah. But I do remember you bringing up that book and Shanti several times, and because it is so powerful, and that's the beauty of you getting to interview all these people. So and then delivering that content out to others. And something you said is so perfect because this podcast is called the Power of Authority podcast, and it's really. It's fascinating to me that having a book does open up all these doors. I've seen it over and over and over again. But for you said that when you're interviewing or bringing on a guest, usually you read their books. How much does a book have influence on who gets on the show and who doesn't?
About 99.9%.
Wow.
In truth, it's really hard to, a couple things. One, it's hard for me to vet if they don't have a book. They've got to have somewhere for me to vet what they're about. So I'm trying to think of somebody, Pete Vargas, who's a rock star. He owns the company Advance Your Reach, and the guy has favor beyond anything I've seen recently. He's right now, he got hired by actually in a partnership deal with Tony Robbins, because you think Tony Robbins, that guy knows stages. They hired Pete in his organization.
Wow.
Just recently. Well, Pete doesn't have a book, but I had such strong testimony about him from people, and I was able to go to his website. He's got videos, and he's got things. And actually, he's a relative neighbor. He lives about 25 miles away, so we actually had dinner together, or lunch together and stuff, and got to do that. But if they don't, it's hard for me to really. I've got to have some place. So if somebody has, let's say, a YouTube channel and videos that I can go and see their stuff, which I did with, or somebody else I did. It might have been Michael Jr.
Oh, sure.
Does he have a book?
I don't know if he does. I mean, he's doing so many other things, but I don't know if he has a book.
I don't think he does, but I can go online and vet him for his, his routines, and he's got things there. So the book is generally the best place for me to get their message. Obviously, it gives somebody credibility to see that they've got a topic, to see how I get books. I average about a book a day that's sent to me, and I look at them, and I also, though, in having them on the show, if I'm going to share their message with the entire audience, the Ziglar Show audience, and give somebody, let somebody partake and engage in this message, if they grab onto it and go, my gosh, I want more of that. Obviously, the book is the easiest way for them to engage with that. If I have somebody on the show and go, well, I hope you enjoy the message, I got nothing for you. They don't have any place to go. It's a little difficult. It really is, which, as you and I talked about candidly, here I am with this big audience, and I don't have a website that I drive people to offer them more about me or my core message. I don't have a book. It's kind of I'm kind of the backwards math, big audience and no specific platform. And as you know, that is a primary focus for me right now, because it will, I don't know if I want to say it's hurting some of my business efforts, but it's a void. It's an unnecessary void. So I'm actually working with Pete on my platform and stage and whatnot, and of course people like you for the book. And so the book is, that's your message, and it's 100% true to me. It is the best business card and calling card that it exists.
Well, and it's not that it's actually the book. It's really your story, your message. It's what
Mhm.
you have, but it just makes it easier. Like you said, if
The
somebody's on the
vehicle
show,
then.
yeah, exactly. And whether you have a book or a blog or a podcast or whatever your platform is, the key is just how can you get that message out in the biggest way. And you are you are a rock star with the show, and that you have this audience without the platform first. And for those who are listening, that's a lot harder to do what you did than somebody who writes a book or does a podcast and then builds their platform. So I can't wait to see all the incredible things you're going to be doing, because you have such a great story and a message and a heart to serve people. So,
Thank you.
yeah. Well, I want to talk about, so that's just one show, which is, amazing to me that you not only, manage that huge, the Ziglar show is huge, but you also have another show. Talk about the True Life show.
Yeah, the True Life show. So, I have other business endeavors, and health and wellness has always been a focus. I was a pro athlete. I was a pro cyclist. And so just the athleticism was a big part. But then it was really through my work again with this organization that I had, helping people pursue self-employment. That was the focus. It was finding
Yeah.
a business that fits them, an idea, and then doing the work to bring that opportunity to fruition. And along the way, not to minimize the effort, but it's possible to take somebody, audit them, audit their experiences, their talents, gifts, skills, abilities, all that, audit them, figure out an idea, find a place for it in the marketplace, brand it, position it, market it, yada, yada. So that can be done. And there's people that can do that. And so we would do that with people, and then the time would go on, and the month goes past, and 6 months goes past, and you're like, hey, what's
What are you doing?
stopping you? And over and over, it started to be this consistent thing. We would hear, I just can't get it out of I don't have enough energy at the end of the day. I don't have even the weekend. By the time that comes, I don't have it. And it dawned on me that even with myself and peer entrepreneurs that I know, their output was higher. It's
Wow.
just to be frank, their output was higher. And so their personal ability, energy, and ability just to put more output was higher than most people that I saw. And that came to be part of our messaging. You're going to have to put more out, unless you're going to ditch your job and just try to start this business, which is generally a bad idea.
Right.
Keep the
Definitely
main
bad
job
idea.
and income. Yeah, keep things going and do this on the side. To do this on the side, you are going to need more out of yourself. And if you don't have the energy, let's look at that. And so health and wellness started to be a part of that. One of my closest friends, a doctor, Randy James, a medical doctor, but his specialty is functional medicine. And the point of functional medicine, it's root cause medicine. It's saying, hey, if you got high blood pressure medication, taking a medication for it is dealing with the symptom. Something's causing high blood pressure. Let's go downstream or upstream, either way, upstream, and figure out where that issue is. So the long story short, I ultimately ended up partnering with him in his practice to turn it into a functional medicine practice, which to do functional medicine, it doesn't work within traditional insurance that pays for a 10-minute visit. And so I joined him because I knew membership-based businesses, joined him in that. But what dawned on me over time then, Michelle, is I was doing like this, and I'm doing the Ziglar show and talking to, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on personal growth. He's on the other side of the wall because we both share an office building.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's on the other side, really doing the same thing to one person. They may be there because of an ache, a pain, a physical ailment, but ultimately he's saying, look, to get you better is going to take these good habits. And now he has to inspire them to do it. And even though they're sitting there paying a lot of money, a lot of them still don't. So he's trying to inspire their true performance. There's the tagline for Ziglar. We're doing the same thing. And I said, how can we get this to a bigger audience? So there's a bigger answer to that. But one of the pieces is the True Life show, where it is talking on health and wellness, but the focus is not to be another health and wellness and fitness show. There's lots of those out there. There's great ones, but to really just bring it into the business community and say, hey, folks, for your audience, Michelle, those of you who want to write a book, those of you who want to start a business, those of you who want to run a successful business, make more money, have more impact, whatever, you are at the mercy of this physical body and mind. If it's compromised, so are your efforts. If you want more out of yourself, you're going to have to bolster this sucker that you're back to vehicle, like a book.
Yeah.
The primary vehicle is us. And so that's the focus of the show, is helping people. And if I had to differentiate the show, what's different than any other health and wellness show that says eat more veggies and sleep more and whatever, is the concept of it. It is around the functional medicine premise, which is saying, look, if you're going to be well, it's kind of like a table. It has four legs. You've got to address the whole thing. You can't come in with one, pill, supplement, oil, treatment, whatever, and fix that. And even in health and wellness, we have a lot of people who are trying to tout their one thing as the thing, and it's impossible. It's a whole body effort, I guess.
Right. Holistic approach. I mean, you say like fully functioning in body and mind. I saw that on the website, and I love that. But what I love is, first, I'm big on the functional medicine. I agree, to get to the root of what's really the problem. Why take medicine if it's only going to mask whatever the issue is? But like you said, though, it's the reason I think the show is different is we know what to do. I mean, really, most people know to get more sleep. They know not to eat really bad or to drink too much. I mean, we know what to do, but we don't always do it. And it's very similar to personal development. I mean, remember what Zig would always say about personal development? It's a lot like showering or bathing. You don't just do it once and hope it sticks. You have to do it every day. And that's the same with our health. And so sometimes we need to be re-reminded or re-inspired or, re-energized. So I love this show. And because you all are there in Colorado, it's your ability to, whatever you all are doing there in that area, now you're able to bring it out to more people who may or may not live close enough to come into the practice.
Yeah, and as you're talking there, I mean, that functional medicine approach, it's very much, as what Zig talked about with the Ziglar Wheel of Life, the 7 spokes.
Yes.
If you're going to have success in life, you want success in all these areas. You don't want a flat spot. And so, as I talk about with every guest I have on the show, the Ziglar show, we do the habits show, which is going through what are their habits for success in those 7 areas. So if we go just to the health one, it's a similar thing within health. There's 4 areas that we look at that have some sub areas, but 4 areas which you need to address if you're going to have a table with 4 sturdy legs. So again, very similar concept.
Well, do you mind sharing what are those 4 areas? What should we be thinking about?
Absolutely. It's so interesting. I'm so grateful. This show is really getting great reviews. Awesome. And I told you I've got a keynote speaking gig that I'm doing, and they asked me yesterday. Unbeknownst to me, they're listening to the True Life show, and they said, we want you to talk on that in one of the plenary sessions and whatnot. And, so functional medicine will talk about 4 areas, and they talk about nutrition, exercise, sleep, and mind body. Okay. Now, here my studio is here in the practice that I co-founded with Randy, with Dr. James. And we really, in talking about it, we drill down on some subsections of those. So for nutrition, we talk about it as input. So your input has to be good. Input, obviously, what goes in your mouth, but also what goes in your eyes. Very Ziglar-esque, what goes in your ears. You can change who you are and where you are by changing what goes into your mind. And so the areas of input.
So even like lotions and hair shampoos, all of that would be kind of.
Environmental. I mean, we're seeing that so often now with toxins, and mold is such a big thing that is harming people. So what are the areas of input? And from a nutritional standpoint, it's not only what you're eating. Actually, Randy's line, and I think it's a functional medicine line, but he coined it, I think, a little different, is the question is, what are you not putting into your body that it needs? And what are you putting into your body that it doesn't want? But you could say that visually too. There's good things to put into your eyesight and your vision. Exactly. There's bad things. There's good audio. There's bad audio. There's good nutrition, bad nutrition. There's good, external things and bad. So input, that's a big focus. And so on the on the True Life show, I think it starts with, episode 1 and 2 are kind of overviews of the whole concepts. And then episode 3, we start with, input. And I think episode 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 are on areas of input. Then we go to the next one, which is output. So instead of just saying exercise, we're saying the things that you do for output, movement. It's not just exercise, but movement. I mean, back, our grandparents or great grandparents, they didn't need to exercise. Their life was exercise. You're going out and taking care of the cattle and you're hauling some water up from the well or
Hmm.
from the stream, and you're washing clothes by hands. I mean, the physical exertion exercise, that's the dumbest thing ever. And it is, so instead of that, because my life doesn't require that, I have a home gym and I stand up in my rec room and lift inanimate objects that doesn't achieve anything. It's goofy. And so we kind
Right.
of hit a lot of it. And there's the flavor of the show.
Oh,
We look at a lot of this and say, guys, this is, some of this is goofy. I mean, nutritional supplements,
yeah.
we believe in them, but it's to supplement the diets that we can't get a perfect diet these days in America.
Right.
And so we have to supplement. It's unfortunate. Same thing. We had to exercise, unfortunately. If you're a
Hmm.
lumberjack, maybe you don't need to. You're probably getting plenty of exercise, but not many of us are. So, aspects of output and even kind of a daily look at what you're doing, your output that harms you, or, the sedentary aspect, or if you're stressed.
Hmm.
And yeah, so output. The third one, then, where functional medicine would say sleep, we say recovery.
Okay. Oh,
Because
yeah, I like
it's
that.
more than just
Yes.
more than sleep. I mean, sleep is, and even looking at sleep, we talk about that, such a hot topic these days. But
Hmm.
even looking at quantity, and you can increase your sleep, and now you're getting 8 hours of sleep. But if it's really bad sleep, shallow
Right.
sleep, it's not.
Exactly.
This. Your
Yes.
husband's a sleep expert. Yeah. Who am I talking to here? So we look at that, but then also just the other aspects of recovery. I
Yeah.
think we've really gotten into looking at relief, and that's not recovery.
Hmm.
Kicking your shoes off at the end of the day and watching a flick and eating a bag of chips, that's some relief, and there's a
Yeah.
place for that sometimes, but that's not recovery. You don't get up from that and go, man, I feel great after that.
Exactly.
uh, or even on the weekends, watching a bunch of football games or
Hmm.
whatever like that, you
Or
don't get up
scrolling
and
on your
feel.
phone for hours on end.
Exactly what recharges you. And
Yeah.
looking at Sabbath and sabbatical
Hmm.
and the things that recharge you. So there you go. So recovery. So
Okay.
what charges us up so that we can have the output we want. And then the last one, where functional medicine talks about mind and body,
Hmm.
we actually, I actually struggle with the term a little bit, but I don't know of a better one. We
Okay.
talk about relationships. So it's the mind and body. That's the relationship between the body and the mind. But we talk about relationships, your relationship
Hmm.
with yourself,
Yes.
your self-image. Again, very
Yeah.
Ziglar-esque, as you know, your relationship even with your work and having purpose in it, and of course your relationships with others, but then the
Hmm.
relationship between the body and the mind, and how you can be taking care of the body really well, but if you're in a stressful mindset in
Right.
your life, you're going to harm your body. You'll have the
Hmm.
physical manifestation of emotional pain, is a very real terminology, and vice versa. If your mind, man, you're
Yes.
taking, and that's where we find a lot of people these days, man, they're feeding their mind, they're getting good stuff, but they're letting their body go, and ultimately that will harm them. And now we have these terms that didn't even that I don't
Yeah.
remember when I started hearing it. It wasn't that long ago. Things like brain fog. Well, what is
Oh,
that?
right. Never heard of that
It just
growing up.
never heard of that. Yeah. And,
But
no
now
different than
everybody
all
has
the
it.
everybody has that. And energy, man, is such a
Yes.
big
Energy.
topic. I just don't have energy. Well, we're talking about a vehicle. If it was your car and you said, man, my
Hmm.
car just won't go above 10 miles an hour, you take it in the
Hmm.
mechanic and figure out what the heck's wrong. Is the fuel bad? Is the fuel line choked? Is the
Right.
yada yada, what's bad? And we don't as much these days. We talk about the ailments and go to the doctor, and he says, well, gosh, if you're feeling super stressed and anxiety, here's a drug that'll help you.
Yes.
Okay, that's a symptom. What's down here at the bottom? There's something causing that. So there's a
I
quick
love it.
overview.
Well, and I love it. And I definitely encourage everyone to listen to the True Life show. And, knowing you personally too, and your heart behind it is, it's changing people's lives. I have a question though, as we've just kind of entered the new year, new decade. What are you most excited about this year?
Most excited about this year. I'm grateful that I have, of course, a handful of things that I'm
Hmm.
excited about this year. So, I mean, right now there is, with all the endeavors that I'm doing. Um, Gosh, I mean, I've got a big family. There's
Yeah.
stuff that's happening there always, and there's some things that I want to take time for my family there. We're planning vacations and things like that,
Hmm.
and working on our kids' education, and
Yeah.
what we homeschool some. We have other things that we're doing, but man, everybody's doing well there.
Yeah.
That I am, as we talked about, look, back to platform. I'm eager to
Mm.
dial in more and expand the message, my core message, because it will help everything that we're doing, even some other business ventures. And we've got some, investor things happening, and it so much helps. Just like we talked about with the book, you want to know, okay, what are you about? Now, obviously doing the Ziglar show and personal development, I get a lot of traction from that, but I am eager to do, to kind of hone in on that. And honestly, I feel like those are just the doors that God's opening for me right now. It's not doors I've asked for necessarily.
It's just it's time, and you have a great platform. Yes, exactly. And gosh, I time goes so fast, and I wish I could talk to you all day long. But thank you so much for being on the show. It means a lot. I consider you a friend, and I learned so much from you. And I can't wait to see all the awesome things you're going to do and get that book done, Kevin.
I know. There's always that. I need the accountability. Thank you for that. And I'm stoked to see what you are doing. Your message, I am a believer in.
Thank you
so much of having the book. Yeah. And I'm a student of need, the need, but I get it. I mean, what you are doing with your business and with this podcast and trying to help people get their story out there. Yeah, I am. That is the business I have with the show, is taking people who have then put that story out there and helping get it out to the people who it will benefit. So I am your fan.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, as we wrap up, if you are ready to share your story and realize the power of authority that's already within you, then I want to give you a copy of my newest book, The Power of Authority, How to Get More Revenue, Respect, and Results by Authoring a Book. Just go to thepowerofauthority.com, grab your free copy, and we'll ship it out right away. Just pay shipping. But hey, thanks again. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Power of Authority podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and find me on social media and let me know, what did you like best about this episode? And don't forget, share this with a friend. We'll see you soon.